and the director of the Houston Comedy Film Festival. And we have our summer 2022 event coming up in August. And I am on the line today with Lucy Regent, who is nominated for the Best Director for her submission called Under the Influence. And we're going to talk about that today. Hi, Lucy.
Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's you're my first interview of the day, so I'm all pepped up on coffee and ready to go.
Good. And firstly, I just want to say thank you so much to you guys and all the judges. We are really excited for this festival and all the ones we've got into. I've just been completely shocked at the reaction we've had to this and just, yeah, so excited about it. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome. Appreciate the kind words. Your work stood out among so many submissions. There's so many just fantastic scorecards. I think people really like the chemistry between the main characters. And before I really spoil any details, can you set it up for me? Can you tell me in your own words a synopsis for Under the Influence?
So our synopsis that was put on our treatment was originally Under the Influence is a mockumentary exploring the lives of ambitious social media influencer Molly March and her ditzy best friend, Waverly Abbott. Basically, Molly hires a film crew to follow their adventures in an attempt to land them a reality show deal. So it's a mockumentary about two Instagram influencers, basically.
It's like a mockumentary about a mockumentary or something.
And that's
Well,
what blew people's minds about it. They were like, I think that was the twist that got people, was the fact that it was a mockumentary about someone hiring a film crew about themselves. Which is just so funny to me. Like the concept of it is just so funny to me. So yeah, that's how it started.
I saw some of the judges' notes and they were like, this is bizarre. I love it. I saw people say, this is just so odd. I love it. I heard people say, this is so awkward. I love it. It was always followed with, I love it. And it's difficult in comedy because it's not just a script. It's like the actors really have to pull this off. Can you talk about how the chemistry is so good in this?
So do you want to hear a crazy story? I always saw myself as a writer, not an actor. I for anyone who, just for the audience because they may not know this, they're listening in. The reason the judges were saying that is I play one of the main characters as well. I am not an actress. I think I did a bit of acting classes GCSE, never done it before. Some of my lines people expected me to know because I wrote them, but I write all the time, so I was really having to go over those. And I had never acted before in my life. We couldn't, due to COVID and a whole load of other things and budgets and all sorts when you're starting out. I was like, I'm gonna have to do this myself and really, really hope that this goes well. And I had to just put a lot of trust in it. And I was doing I was working at that point, 107-hour weeks because I was also producing it and directing it. And I was flying people in from, I have a lot of, we'll talk in a minute about how I started out, but I have a lot of contacts from America. So they were all flying in to do this. It was really a passion project. We had a cast and crew of in total 9 people. We shot it in 6 days on a budget of next to nothing, and everyone was still home for dinner. I don't keep people sort of beyond 6. So it was really a group of people who'd known each other a long time, had that trust, had those established relationships. Of course, there were a couple of new people we brought in as crew and cast and things. I think had it not been for that and had those underlying built relationships that I've been building for years in the industry, I don't know if would have worked that well. Also, the co-star alongside me was a friend of mine from school who is a Canadian actress. She's very talented. And so we have this friendship where there's that dynamic, not the exact dynamic in that, but like where we already know each other as people. And so I think when you have that, you have this like automatic connection already with the person if you truly know them. And we were somehow able to bring that into the characters. And it was just, yeah, again, I think it was almost like a perfect mix of chemistry that allowed us to do it the way we did. And it's just done so well. So hats off to her, hats off to honestly my entire casting crew. They were just incredible and really stuck by me through it and could see that I really believed in the project. So yeah, and the fact that it very much was, I don't want people to think I went into this thinking I was going to be great. It was very much at the end of the day like, how did I pull that off? Like, I was scared. I was like, what if I'm not good at this? So it was just so lucky, and luckily I was working with friends, so I was comfortable. So and we made it. We somehow made it. You know, it worked. Thank goodness.
Well, wearing hats, that it's something I didn't even realize to the extent at which you of all the positions that you had on set. It's difficult enough just to talk about being a director and being in front of the camera at the same time, specifically those two roles. How did you balance that?
Whew. So, I think it was just a lot of time of preparation. We also didn't want to miss certain submissions to networks, so it was done. Pre-production was done in 3.5 weeks. That included script
Mm.
editing. So I think it was just a lot of preparation. Having done the shot list before, I also want to make it super clear that the way I wanted this shot was very much mockumentary. And so what that did, thank God, and also I have a total thing for one shots, so that helped too in the editing process and filming. But I think it was also that, you know, it gave that scope for it to feel more guerrilla style. So if something wasn't shot, don't get me wrong, I'm a perfectionist. I studied things like The Office for hours, like each look at the camera, where the camera was going, everything to prepare for this. So we had the DP, everything was planned, every mark was hit. But say it wasn't perfect or something was just off, that added to it. That was great because it was shot almost guerrilla style, how you would see some of these mockumentaries sometimes shot. So that also added to it. So there was the preparation behind it, but I also was very open with the casting crew and said, "Hey, look, if we go off a little bit because I'm distracted or immersed in the character, or you have an idea or you want to try something, let's do it. Like we have time. I'm open to that." So I think it was
Mm.
definitely a team collaboration, but balancing it out was hard, because I was having to deal with everyone else and then also give myself 2 minutes to prepare to act, which I'd never done before. So it was, I mean, talk about giving myself a challenge. I don't go easy, but it was, yeah, wonderful casting crew, and just, I would say, preparation, 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 so that when you get to that point, you can allow yourself to be like, okay, I know what everyone over there is doing. I can now focus. And also then giving people, okay, we've got the shots we need. Anyone else got any ideas? Let's try it. Um, some directors will allow that freedom, some won't. It just depends who you're working with.
Well, you were working with yourself, so did you ever
Exactly.
did you ever just have to like back up and be like, I'm not sure if I pulled off that take, and we watch that back, or are you one of those people that just keeps going forward until you feel like you've got it right?
I'll keep going forward until I got it right. My DP was like, "Okay, we need an excuse for the next shot," and I was like, "The excuse is that it just didn't feel right." Like, because you have to give reason for the casting crew why we're doing another one. But I feel like I knew in my gut when we got it, and bless his heart, like we had so many obstacles in our way. When you're shooting like that and you're technically shooting live, something that you want it to come across that way, like there was sometimes where we were shooting mockumentary style out in the street, so we could have just done there was one day where we did a 2 minute one shot, and right at the end there was a cyclist just came right through. So these are the sorts of challenges that you've got when you film like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, really, I was just very lucky to work with extremely talented people. That DP, by the way, Brendan Swift, he did not even, I've known him about 10 years, he did not have an AC on that shoot.
Oh
So
my goodness.
everything that you see pulled, all those
Hmm.
moments, all those little looks, all him,
All gorilla. I see.
all
Just
him,
like
all him. He was
one.
prompted, he knew when to do it, but he just like that was all him. So that's a lot to remember. It's a lot to do. He was fantastic. So yeah, but I was surrounded by a lot of talented people, and they really made it, and we managed to do it.
Good. Well, it turned out very well.
You,
And it brings me to the question, is this a series or is this finished?
this will be a series. So fingers crossed, it will be. I think there'll probably still be a couple of months I have to wait to sort of hear back for sure. But there are things in motion with 2 or 3 different places. I'm sort of like trying to really, really hope take it forward. So yeah, I mean, I've already started the edits for the rest of the season. I think it's can't believe no one's done this about social media. Like people have done mockumentary sketches on it, of course, loads of people have, but I've never seen someone actually build characters and a story around that. And I'm just like, this is like global. You've got a global outreach there. There's people who live in parts of the jungle that have social media. Like I feel like this like absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's the idea everyone's probably had, but no one's done quite right yet. So fingers crossed.
What people don't understand, and I have a 12-year-old daughter, and so what people don't understand is that kids are they're viewing things differently than people who, who are even in their 20s now. I mean, you grew up with television as number one, and then, YouTube and social media are kind of number two. Well, kids are growing up now where social media and YouTube are number one now, not even equal. It's like number one. My daughter had to sit down and explain to me what TikTok, like, this is what I do every day, Dad. Like, this is how I look at my stories. This is how I look at what my friends are doing. This is how I watch the videos that are coming out. These are my notifications. And these are the reels and stories. And when I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, this is how she spends her time. Where when I was a kid, I would, I knew a show was coming on at a certain time, and I'd set my clock and run and go to the TV and sit through all the commercials and all that. And there's just a different level of consumption, and just a paradigm shift in media. And I think you're capturing something at the right time. You're showing this culture around it and the thinking around it, and what's going on behind, like, the motivations for
And
sharing
that's
like
so
that.
important for me. So it's 300 foot of scrolling, by the way. It's equivalent to I don't know how many football fields that people do per day. Now, a lot of that is might be sort of young women, young girls, and some of the content they're seeing can be very helpful. It can be good advice. It can be all sort of good affirmations. It can also be really not healthy. And so what I was trying to get across is these these people that you're looking at, you think they have this perfect life. I wanted to show how incredibly just wrong that can be behind closed doors, and almost sort of use that satire humor to bring a vulnerability in how some of these platforms come across and look. Because it's there was a study done last January, I think it was, um, and they were saying that social media is one of the biggest causing things like depression or that sort of thing in young women, as young girls especially. So for me, I think like you can lecture people, but it just doesn't get through. Whereas if you create something in comedy, it's so, for example, if we look at something like The Office, when we look at Michael when he's sexist or racist, we that like what makes it so is he looks insane. Do you know what I mean? Like, so they're not sitting down and you saying all these things are bad. Like, you can see because he just looks completely mad doing it, and that's what makes us laugh, and that's what makes him think he's a complete idiot sometimes. So I, rather than do it that way, I rather take comedy and show it that way and be like, of course these platforms are useful. Right now we're doing them in live. That's great because we get to use them and they're fantastic for some stuff and so helpful in modern day life. But also to just remember there's some aspects to it that might not be so real, and to not always take it so seriously. And I think that's why it was so important to do it as a comedy. And the idea of I can remember the first time I sort of really made people laugh, and that feeling of adrenaline, and the idea of being able to do that for the rest of my life. That's my job, to get to make people happy. So if you could do something through a comedic lens, I just think that's the best thing in the world. I just think it's the best job in the world.
Well, building on that for a second, that's very inspiring. And I want to rewind just a second in your career. What was your first step? What turned you from a person who just has good ideas to someone that says, I'm going to create content, or I'm going to write, or I'm going to act? Like, what was, or direct? What was your first step into the business?
So I started writing when I was 9. So I was just doing like weird little screenplays, and then I started my first book at 16. And then I was like, oh no, this isn't, and I was like told it wasn't a real job, and I went sort of into other stuff. And then I finally succumbed to it and was like, I just have to write. And I started out with books, not screenplays, but I was seeing them in my mind, and I was like, I am not leaving this down to anyone else. Like, if I want to pitch these as screenplays, I need to know how this is done. I need to know what's going on behind the scenes. So I enrolled myself in the New York Film Academy. This is why I've got lots of American friends and lots of American film contacts. I enrolled myself there and I was like, let's do this. And I did the film program and it is intense. I don't think I had a weekend off the first 3 months, but fantastic. Like they really, NYU is like very prestigious for film and it's, you know, where some of the other guys went on to. And they can take their time a bit more. The film academy though will sort of, you get thrown in the deep end at the beginning, but my God, is it worth it? Because, you know, when you learn to swim, the knowledge they give you,
Mm.
even in those couple of years, is incredible. So the filmmaking program, you get to acting for film, maybe a bit of directing, producing, you cover it all. So this is how I learned that. And then I just got so fed up of pitching scripts. And so I did during lockdown. There's a fantastic, if there's any women watching that want to know, there's a fantastic thing in the UK called Funny Women. I
Mm.
believe you can apply to that from anywhere in the world. They have different competitions and stuff. And they did a seminar on demystifying commissioning over lockdown. And I got on there and I spoke up and I said, hi, look, like, I'm sick of pitching scripts that I know are funny. You know, if I start filming, if I start pitching digitally, is that a thing? And one of the commissioners was, the producers was like, yeah, we've had more and more of that recently. So I was like, that's what I'm going to do. You know, it's so hard. I've read scripts before where I'm like, and then that was one of our exercises at film school, to read a script and then you watch it. And then I was like, I read the script and I was like, and then I'd watch it and I'd be like, oh my gosh, that's so, you know, it's hard sometimes to convey all those little looks, all those laughs, everything through that script. So I
Mm.
decided, no, I'm filming this. We're going to film this and we're going to pitch it that way. And, you know, it was that, I think that was the right decision. And it also then means, you know, for filmmakers, for people trying to get an agent or make it in the industry, you have, especially if you're getting into festivals, that allows you to reapproach agents afterwards and be like, look, I won this, I won this, I won this, I won this. We've already won, I think last month, or was it in May, we won the Los Angeles Film Awards, Best Comedy and Best Director. We've been nominated for a bunch of other things, so it's including obviously Best Director with you guys at Houston. So it's just been a process, but I would definitely, now I can't imagine pitching it any other way.
Well, you're like I said, this is an inspiration. You've really developed a great product here. It's good to hear your backstory and just how passionate you are about film. Is there anything else that you wanted to add today before we get out of here?
Just a massive thank you to the judges for this opportunity. We're looking forward to the film festival, and also a massive thank you to, um, you know, the cast and crew for just being so incredible and just excited for the world to see more of this. And also my next pilot, which is a transatlantic. It's based in New York about Brits that come to New York,
Oh,
equally as Brits. So hopefully, and that's already being pitched out. So fingers crossed there'll be more to come. So we'll just have to wait and see.
all right. Well, we're excited to find out what happens, and you make us look good. I can't wait to screen this at the festival. So,
Oh,
well, we
good.
appreciate your time. I'm sorry,
Thank
I
you
cut
so
you off. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
much. Take care.
Have a good one.
Bye.